when last year when I did a 40-day water only fast, if it wasn't being a member of an online community, I would never have made it. Okay, and now here we have with the Q&A. All right, so with that, I would now like to introduce Rebecca Hughes. She's a single mom, businesswoman up in Northern California with 3 lovely daughters that I've been blessed to see pictures of. And so, Rebecca, take away and kind of share your story.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rebecca. It's so nice to be here with you. I thought maybe I would just reinforce that last point that Alipio had made as far as, you know, the 5 things that will help you be successful in your current or upcoming fasts. And that is definitely being a part of an active fasting group or forum, you know, right now with, you know, just all of us having to keep our distance. You know, it's nice that we have these types of resources like Zoom and Facebook and whatnot. So if you're not plugged into a group, I would highly recommend that. My fasting journey started back in 2018. I lost my entire history, hometown, home, and place of employment in the campfire here that took place in Northern California. And the 4 days following the fire, I was so pumped up with adrenaline that I did not even realize I hadn't eaten for 4 days. And I had shared with a friend of mine, I'm like, I haven't eaten for 4 days. Like, I couldn't believe it. And he, now I'm just, you know, the first rule of Fast Club is don't tell anybody you're fasting. Totally true. Fortunately for me, this one individual, he was like, oh, that's great. Do you know that your immune system completely regenerates after 3 days of no food? I'm like, I didn't know that. And so it started at that moment that I went and furthered my research in fasting. And I continued. I was not as structured as dear Alipio with my fasting regime, but I did continue some sort of intermittent fasting throughout the next year. The longest I was able to go was an 8-day fast. And that takes me to about the time frame when I met Alipio virtually. This is our first time actually hearing one another's voices. We met on a fasting forum, and he had started his 40-day. And there was another gal that I, you know, he was helping, or they were, you know, morally and emotionally helping one another, who was enduring a 30-day. So I really wanted to break the 10-day. And this I would like to tie into your whys on fasting really do need to be strong. I'm gonna tell you, my just wanting to have a 10-day under my belt wasn't strong enough. And so I struggled, but I will tell you though, even if you only have like a 24 hours or 18 hours under your belt or a couple 42s, they do add up. They do add up. Okay, it really does. So that's when Alipio, I think it was around January, where I was successful in 14 days. And what helped me through that was the emotional support. My approach to my fasting, even to this day, has been more of an emotional approach. Yes, I do a lot of research, I do a lot of reading, but as far as, you know, the data that I lost is mostly measurements, weight, and my emotional well-being. So I just, that feeling of not wanting to let down my friends, that did get me through. And I was coping with a lot emotionally. And I've got to also second what Alipio was saying, as far as if you are going through any type of heightened emotional stress, so like mourning the loss of a loved one, or gosh, I don't know, going through a divorce or custody battles, this really extreme emotional stress, more than likely will not be successful in completing, and I would say anything longer than 24 hours, maybe 24 to 72 hours. I'm attesting from personal experience. But what fasting, I just, I guess like to follow up with what fasting has done for me these last 2 years. Um, I feel like I'm a little bit of an oddball. I didn't have a lot of weight to lose. At one time in my life, I was 250 pounds. I'm 5'8.5" tall. Um, I So that was quite a bit of weight. I did lose 100 pounds. Ultimately, what got the weight off was a lower carbohydrate diet. Um, I wasn't religious with ketogenic diet, although I would kind of cycle that into my dieting regime. But for me personally, if I want weight to come off, it needs to be under 80 grams of carbohydrates a day. But then, as a mom, I have children, so I had a third baby, and with that third pregnancy, I did not gain near as much weight. So I had done a lot of repairing just with the diet, just getting the refined carbohydrates out of my diet, going completely no sugar. Um, the year leading up to that, my third pregnancy, 4.5 years ago, really, I guess, helped me, because when I got pregnant, I normally gain about 80 to 100 pounds, believe it or not. This last one, it was about barely 20 pounds. After this third baby, though, she's now not a baby anymore, she's about 4. I just could not seem to break away from 172. That was my stinking number for years after I had her, 172. And even now to this day, I'm only just a few pounds shy of that. The inches, my overall body composition, when I met Alipio, I was a size 12, and now we're a size 8, although they're, barely 5 pounds difference on the scale. So fasting, I didn't start off morbidly obese, although I was at one point in my life. I've, have struggled with my weight most of my life. I was raised with, the standard American diet type lifestyle. Um, I will say that, um, having having fasting a part of my life has really helped regulate my hormones. I wonder if I can share a picture with you guys. That I'll see if it works. Let's see. Let's see if this will. Okay, I don't think it's going to work on my phone. I'm sorry. I'll find a way. Maybe I'll give it to Olivio. But just to show you like what fasting has done for me on the physical sense. Just as how I've lost inches all over, about almost 3.5 inches I've maintained off of my waist, 3 inches off of my hips, inches off of my thighs, just all over. But the weight on the scale has changed. I also noticed that it is that through fasting, when I exercise, you know, um, it's not hard for me to put on muscle. Um, I think that Olivia, you're the only male here, so I'm sorry if this is too much information, but my breast size also increased. I do attribute that to balancing out my hormones. A lot of the women in our fasting group would complain or were worried about like losing breast size through fasting. And I just told myself I wasn't going to. And I don't know if that played a part in it or if it's just, the effects it had on my hormones, but I have increased a half of a size. So I also just like to touch on, it is possible for you caretakers or mothers or grandmothers out there to fast while taking care of loved ones. But again, it really is contingent on where your emotional state is. I would, through every single one of my fasts, I would watch myself and what I noticed, what I finally was able to get to, because I couldn't understand like what was causing me to go from like having high energy to no energy. Was it really just the lack of food? And what I noticed is when my feelings got hurt, I would immediately, my energy levels would go from where I could clean house, prepare meals, to just have to go lay flat out in my bed. So I knew that I had to really get a grip on that. I had to, learn how to get in control of my emotions. And so through fasting, I have improved in that area, which is important, being a woman, and just, who I am like, I'm very emotionally driven. So that was important. So I guess that was all that I wanted to share with you. I highly recommend, one last thing, I read recently Alipio's article that he wrote for Medium, How to Conquer Your Greatest challenge in 2021. I think that is a great read for anybody who has tried to fast and maybe have fell short of your fasting goals as far as time, or those who are just starting out. Some of it you may not totally relate to, but the points that are really, I know Alipio has touched on it in this Zoom call, but your whys. He likens it to, the stick and the carrot method, kind of like with a donkey, you have a carrot that kind of, motivates you to go, or like or a stick. I guess in your talk tonight, it was the diabetes, like, when I'd rather just go without food, or do I, or I'm looking at, getting my feet cut off. I mean, those are some very strong whys. And so I got to say that, losing some vanity pounds may not be a strong enough why to get you through an extended fast of maybe 7 days or 10 days. So really, dig deep in those strong whys. And even if it's just for spiritual reasons, we are going through a lot as a whole human race, and so maybe there might be some strong whys in that arena. So anyhow, with that, I'm open to any questions, and again, thank you for having me here tonight.